Good morning, everybody. Well, something not very good happened, and it's in my compost. Let me show you. I just did this and I thought, oh dear, I should do a video because just a minute, I have compost here. It's very sad. This is what's left of my orchid I love so much, my pyloric orchid. I had bought it in bark. It had done wonderful. It had started to go downhill before I put it in glass. It had lost leaves, then it lost a few more leaves, and then it just died. And it wasn't root rot. I don't know if that was why it was the only one, because we never get anything but no ID orchids. I don't know if they knew there was something wrong with it or if it's the glass. So tomorrow is orchid watering day, and I'm reassessing all my orchids because, as you know, I thought they weren't getting in the ones in glass only. It's very strange because I have this one and I have always kept it on the same watering schedule as my other orchids. It's done beautiful. It's been in this for a year. Its flowers are still beautiful. There's no sign of root rot. Now, the one I know about this glass vase is it tapers in. This is more roots than bark. And the other issue I have is here I'm not able to order large bark anymore. And medium bark has got smaller and smaller. Now, I go through a lot of bark and I really don't want the expense of ordering it online. And I've looked into it. So, why is this orchid doing so good? And it's on the same schedule as the rest, the same bark. It is tapered. So, tomorrow's orchid watering day, so I am assessing all the orchids that I have in bark. Now, tomorrow's watering day, and this is the one. This is the pot my pyloric orchid was in. I've checked it a couple times and it's still quite damp. It's still very damp. So my main thing is, as you can see, I don't think that, I'm going to dump it into this bucket. I don't think there's enough airspace, and for sure you need more airspace, but my traffic cones are doing beautiful. The other orchids are doing pretty good. The ones that are still in some of the large bark, and I haven't had to repot for a long time, are doing better. So I did check, because I did add some cones to this. And when I checked the water, I used I let it all drain out into a saucer after I watered it, and the parts per million was good. Everything was good, so I didn't see anything wrong there. Now this one, I had some large lava rock in the bottom. I mean large. And I would be tempted to use something like this and say, okay, maybe that's all I should use. Because, yeah, that's changing media. And you know, every time you change the medium of an orchid, and it doesn't matter what you're changing it from to, the orchids go under stress. But this, even with the larger pieces of cone, which are holding a fair amount of moisture, You can see. And it's watering day tomorrow. I will not be watering these tomorrow. So this is just waste now. And this is why you have to always check your orchid on before watering day. And I don't always, but I do. I don't do it often, but I do it always. Just a minute here. I gotta wipe my hands and my nose. There. Okay, so I think the best thing to do is to check them all and see what's happening, because I don't want to lose any more, and I do like the glass, and okay, that one is doing fine. I'm not taking it out. I can see very easily, I can see it's watering day tomorrow. Now this one has a hole at the very bottom so that all the water mostly drains out. And then there is 4 holes halfway up. So whether a bug has gone through here, but I'm not going to say that because of these haven't been in long, and we're going to just check them. We just want to know, is it because now this one does not look like it needs watered tomorrow. There's still a little water sitting in the bottom, but on watering day I kind of tip them and I let the water run out. There isn't much, but there is some in there. Now whether I have to go and get another hole put in the very bottom, I don't know. It doesn't look like it needs water, or maybe I should be watering once every 2nd week. Now that means my glass ones go on a different schedule than my other orchids. So this is the only way when you try something new, you learn. But I keep that because of this orchid did so good. Now the difference in this pot is wider at the bottom than that one, but we're going to check it. And this one is Fel Fang Mei Sweet. Okay, let's check it. See what we got. It's the only thing to do. There's no, I have not put any, oh yeah, I did. There's cones in the bottom of this one. There's some glass. It's very wet in the bottom. Very wet. Very wet in the bottom. So, I'm thinking the top half is really good. This one has no rotten roots, but the roots weren't down that far. But this is way too wet. Does not need watered. So, the top feels really good. Like it's, the top part feels good. So, we did want something that was going to hold humidity longer. Already we are 70 degrees here. We're cold in the morning. We've got in BC, I think they said 129 fires going already. Mostly up north, none close to us, touch wood. So we were looking for something to hold humidity. But I can see, looking at this, it needs more air in the bottom. It needs a lot more. So, I don't like this. This is way too wet. Way too wet. Even adding the cones did not help. They are actually holding water. They might be good on their own. I'm thinking about that. I could try one on their own with only a few pieces of bark. I like organic media because you have organisms in that bark that's breaking down that is good for your orchid. But this is too wet and this is too dry. So what are we going to do? I do not have a lot of this rock. Now I have to go shopping later. Well, maybe tomorrow. Maybe not today, I don't know. Now I could put a bunch of big lava rock in the very bottom, halfway up, and put the bark on the top where it's drying more. Something, because this is way too wet. And this is how you find out. Now, it doesn't matter whether you're in glass or you're in porcelain or what kind of pot you have. On watering day, if you check your pot, you find out if it needs watered. Now this one, it really doesn't, but the top half where this orchid was, and it is doing okay. It's got a few new shoots. There is nothing rotten here, but I'm just wondering what to do with the bottom half of this until I find something that I'm going to change. I'm going to stay with the glass. I've lost one orchid. I'm going to stay with the glass for these orchids. There's only a few, but I want to find something to put on the bar. Now, if I went out to the woods today, what is that? If you go out to the woods today, you're going to get a surprise. No, teddy bears are having a picnic. Well, I could go out and get some big hunks of bark and just put that in the bottom. And I think that's looking like a pretty good alternative. So, I have to keep it good until then. And it's just too wet. It's definitely too wet. And the lava rock was good, but for airspace. But I'm thinking, I mean, we have a lot of woods around here, and I could probably take a bag and go find some bark. It's a nice day today, and continue this another day. I think I should check them all, and I should leave them in temporary no watering tomorrow until I come up with something. But let's check them all. So this bark that's okay, let's see, I'm going to put this lava rock back in the bottom of this one for now. This is how we learn. This is how we learn. We have been so busy. I have a really good video coming up for you guys of what we're doing in what used to be the garden, and I'm saving a bunch of little videos joined together so you can see we've been busy. So, okay, that much is lava rock, big lava rock. I would like that much or more to be bark, but even though this was in this jar, it was still too wet. So, we're going to put a bit of the drier bark. I'm not putting the wet stuff in. We're going to put a bit of the drier bark. And instead of watering, the dryer's on the bottom. And this is to hold it until I find something I'm liking a lot better for in here, without desperately changing the medium. So the wet's going on top. It's very wet, and that's in place of watering day for these ones. It is very wet. Now, I could also be drilling more holes, but I don't think I want to do that either. So, hopefully I learn and you learn if you do want to try this, and maybe we come up with something better. So we put the tag back in, And there's nothing moldy in here. There. Okay, number 1 is back. This is the vase from the one I lost. And I should just quickly pick out these beads before I compost this. One thing, all this bark goes back into my vegetable garden, which has completely changed also. You know, sometimes you have to, I feel bad for anybody that if you changed over to glass, check them. Let me know if it's working for you. Let me know exactly how that's coming along with yours. But that's what I found. And like I say, this one, smaller, more cone-shaped vase. Isn't that funny? Because my traffic cones that do so well, probably my oldest orchids, happiest orchids, are also cone-shaped. They're only in the top part of the traffic cone. So let's look at another one. Okay, now this one, it looks happy. This is from the plastic bottle experiment. I had 2. One was, had a terminal spike last leaf. Nothing happened to that. I threw that away a week or so ago. Just nothing was happening. And I really did kind of say, that's it, Carolyn, that's it, because it's taking up space. So nothing happened. So let's check this one. Okay, I'm going to carefully hold it. This is from the plastic bottle experiment that I then put in this vase. Now this is dry on the top. Let's put all the dry stuff there. And it's also mostly lava rock on the bottom, but we're going to dump it all out. So this one is more tapered in. Okay, now this one here wasn't doing that good in the plastic bottle experiment, but I'm going to come over and show you close. Most of the roots of this one, I'm going to put it here and come around. Most of the roots of that one are smaller. They're not getting down to that real wet part. And I think that is part of the issue. So, this one, everything is fine. There's new roots coming. This one looks fine. Nothing rotten. So, oh, I forgot to put my light on. I think I can just do it. See if it makes a difference. Let me know if this makes a difference. If it works. There we go. Okay, I just don't look into it, but you guys do. So here we are with this one. So, now the other thing about this one was, it also had the big lava rock. This was barbecue lava rock with nothing done to it that I had to wash and wash and wash to get it going properly. Now I could try the lava rock with just less bark and put some and then a little bit of bark. But I'm afraid this bark is just too small. I mean, this is supposed to be medium bark. It's really small. So I'm thinking I'm kind of liking the idea of just getting some big pieces of bark to put in. That's what I think I'm going to do. So for now, to hold it until the day I have my bark, and I won't be watering them because they're dry on the top. They're dry on the top, but on the bottom, they are too wet. Too wet. So, And I'm not really leaving a lot of water in the bottom. I'm draining most of it out. So normally I plant these quite high in the pot. So this one we're going to put as much intermingled back in as we had, because I will be coming back and doing a repot on these. I am not giving up, but this is how you learn no matter what you're growing your orchids in. You can tell. See, there's enough moisture in this wet bark that was on the bottom that I'm now putting on the top. There's enough moisture in that. There is no watering day tomorrow. For these, my other orchids, yes, they get watered. Now, it's not just these that the bark I found is small for. Even in my bigger pots, I had some trouble. So this is something that in any big pot in future, I may have to go with the same situation. Okay, now we better check this little one. Now, this little one is Falsogo Vivian, and she has a little spike coming. It's only about 1/4 of an inch big. This one is also, all her roots are near the surface. They're not down into that muck. So there, she's good. And I got to show you something else, because this one hasn't been in this very long. Oh, way too wet on the bottom. Way too wet. There's a lot of lava rock in this one, and you can see it's wet. So it's because she's at the top where it's dry. I think I need pretty big pieces of bark to let this air come in those holes and let it move around with little bits of bark and big hunks of bark. That's what I'm thinking I'm going to go with. I mean, the little babies are still okay. Now, there's some little roots in the very center here. They're dry. They're old ones that are dead, but they're dry from then. But I'll show you close up. There's a little, I hope you can see, I got that light on now, so. You can see these, they're dry. I could cut them out of there. But I think I'll wait till the repot. How this will affect her new little spike. There's some scale I should take off right there. Do you see that? Watering day, always check, because that's where they hide. Edges of the leaves. This one needs a good wash. So, this one's going to get a little wash right now. I wasn't planning on doing this video, and I think Jack's going to show up and he's going to say, "What are you doing?" Well, we got to go to the woods today, honey. Okay. Okay. Let me just check for some scale, see if there's any more here. This one wasn't doing well in its pot. These are ones that I thought needed something. Okay, very little real dry here. So we're just going to put this back in. You can hear the lava rock. It's also small. It's not really doing any much better than that. It's not doing any better than the bark. There's a fair amount of lava rock in here. Okay. But yeah, way too wet. Not happy with that. So then I'm just going to set her on the top while she waits for something exciting to happen. Well, I'll have less to water tomorrow. we're heading into the growing season, and there's lots of new leaves coming on the other orchids. There. If you have one that is short rooted like that, and you have a little bit of lava rock that you can use, it does help keep them in the pot better than just the bark because it's heavier. So the roots were very tiny on it. Oh, that was a plastic bottle experiment. That one goes in that one. And this goes in this one. And we have another one checked. So far we have 3 okay, but better I checked. Better now than later. Because I've lost one, and I can't blame it on this medium, but I'm very sad to lose that. I loved it. I'm going to be having to order one. Anyway, okay, so we got 2 left. And this is one of the twins. Now, I have the twin that's been in a porcelain pot. You know what we should do? We should check the one in the porcelain pot, too. Let's really find out. Yeah, this pot has lots of holes. Let's see. Okay, here it comes. I know Jack's coming because I can hear the elevator. Okay, let's check this one. Let's check this one. Okay. Now this one had lots of roots. Bottom is very wet. Bottom, yeah, it doesn't even smell very good, this one. It's staying way too wet. Okay. Now let's check. Okay, we have wet root. Wet root. This is way too wet. I can see I've lost some here because these were down in the wet. Not there. This one way up here is the old one. These were not good when I took them out of the pot they were in. They were in twins in a red pot. And yeah, any roots that get down at the bottom where it's staying wet, I'm going to come back over and show you. Well, maybe you can see this. I'm just feeling. Those are firm. Firm. I am going to have to go out in the woods and get some big bark. Okay, we did lose a few pieces. Nothing too desperate. Nothing too desperate. We found out there's an issue. And this one, and now these are ones that had some cones in the bottom. This is very wet. There was no like water sitting there, but it's very wet. So I'll put this one piece of left. This is just going to be to hold them till I get out and get some big chunks of bark. And I think I'm going to go with bark and bark. Okay, let's just put this in like this. So there's some air around the roots. But humidity. In fact, maybe that would work. I think what did they call that? You just rinse them off and you put them in, but you still have some bark. So they have some bark. There's a lot of roots. It's going to get the humidity from the bottom of the vase. I may have to try a couple things. So we're going to put some bark in there, but we're not putting this real wet stuff. There. We're going to have air, and all this is way too wet. And the fir cones did not work. They're really absorbing moisture. Okay. This is going to sit. So, okay, you know what we're going to do now? I'm running out of space. Let's put this one back here. Okay, let's dump all this in here. Now we're going to check. Now, the one I just showed you and this one were in a big red plastic pot. Now, neither one of them were doing very good in that pot. And it was because I saw these leaves going in the red pot that I moved them to this glass pot and to this one. They're the same color orchid. They were about the same size. They both started to get yellow leaves. That's not a good sign. So I put one in the glass and one in here. And it's in the same bark. So let's check this pot. Plus, we've had hot, dry weather. The furnace was running all winter a lot. I mean, we've had hot, dry weather and still very little rain. We're very dry here. The lake is low, and usually this time of year our lake is quite high. Okay. This is soaking wet on the bottom also. So I think not as wet, but yes, wet, not as wet. Because it drains all out. Where this was holding a lot more humidity. That's why I think some big pieces of bark and a little air around them. Okay, even so, mind you, this was a repot that was in and it's still losing some roots. There. Oh yeah. So even though this one, and this is interesting. I think this thin bark is this is too small bark. Even this one, and this one I think is worse than the other one. Now luckily the top is fine, where it's been drying quicker just from being in the air. This one here. There'll be some trimming done on this when I repot them, when I get some bark. This one is, the roots are looking better. Honey, we have to go to the woods. We have to take Maggie for a walk in the woods. I need some big hunks of bark.
We live in the woods.
I know. We live in the woods, he says. Okay, look. Yep. Another one. So this one actually lost more than the other one. So it's this real thin bark that is most of the trouble. Plus, if you're having this trouble, make sure you drain all the water out of your vase. Or, let's see, this one here, I'm leaving it with bark in the bottom, but you don't want that bark hanging around near the real wet. Although some people just leave a few roots or water and I'm not raising with water. I like the bark. So, but for now, the other twin is getting humidity from the bottom, but it will be dry, and I think too dry. I think here I couldn't do that. I've tried water culture and different things. I do need some bark, but I do need bigger bark. Without ordering bark, and I go through too much, it's so expensive. I'm sure I can go out in the woods and get some bark. And so, now we know. And this pot had tons of holes. And in the bottom, tons of holes. And it's still damp. It still could cause problems and did not need water. It's a bigger pot. So we're just gonna put that like that. We're gonna put them in. Looks like Maggie's gonna get a walk in the woods today. There. Well, I'm glad I checked And there'll be another video coming up when I have some bark. Some of this bark will stay, this real wet stuff, it's gone. But this one was actually not as wet, but didn't really need water today. Probably could have got away with it, but because of those rotten roots, you can see there's a problem. So rather than change my whole watering schedule, some orchids sometimes, some another, I don't think I want to do that. And I think the answer is the bigger bark, mixed with a very little of the small bark. Okay, we've almost checked them all. Now this one's in bloom. It's been in bloom quite a long time, but it's already losing one or two. And I think we should check that one too. So, this is Moon Gold. She hasn't been in this pot very long at all. I can remember doing it. Okay, the bottom is very, very wet. Very, very wet. That's for sure. Yeah, I need bigger bark so air can get in there. Air is what dries it. So if air can get in there, the top is very, very dry. The bottom is very, very wet. Now let's see. She hasn't been in here long. She's totally, I think, oh, there's an old one. There's one there. Okay, let's see what else. The rest are firm, I think. I don't want to miss anything. No, you can see this is an old orchid. There is her long stem. This is a Moon Glow who suffered over years, different things. She even had a kike in flower. She was beautiful. And you know how it is. Things happen. But she has recouped from what she was. She has beautiful roots. So, the roots that are happy, take note. The roots that are happy are the ones in the top where the air is getting to more. And so, if we have more air circulating in the bottom, even if there's moisture sitting there, it's going to help aerate the pot. So this is not aerated. This is soaking wet. Even some of these bigger pieces. So I have to go quite big on the bottoms. So I got marbles in here and everything for space in the bottom that I had at the time. So I think what we will do is we want to put some, I think I'm going to put some of this wet back in the bottom. I don't want anything to break. You know, when I was experimenting with my traffic cones, I checked them all the time, and then you learn exactly what's going on in your pot. You just, you could see that this was wet. You could see it. You might try to ignore it, but you could see it. So here we are, even though we're very busy, and I'm going to get to that in some other video. I'm saving videos. This is best. So I will be back when I have bark to put it in to do another repot. But the other orchids are all getting new leaves. Some are in flowers. I've got some in spike. So these were my experimental ones. And we did lose one. I can't say for sure that it was from this, but this probably didn't help. This probably didn't help at all. So I don't care too much how much of the bark is. Roots are kind of, you can see some. That's okay. That's okay. I'm going to put some of this drier stuff on the top. So, no water for them because they'll be getting a repot soon. They'll be getting watered and cleaned up. Now, I need to put those somewhere. There. Okay, so that was very interesting. This one I don't have to check. I can see it looks good. But you know what? It can probably go a little bit longer before I water it. And I might keep my eyes on it. I will not water it yet. I will water it when I repot these. I can miss the top. And I think that's good. It's quite happy. And this is not good. So if you go on watering day or the day before watering day to check your pots, well, and they look like this, you do not need to water. Now, if they're dry on the top and they're really wet in the bottom, then you need more air circulation because they do like air around the roots. And if this is all compacting and it's just going to turn to muck, and so will your roots. So what we want to do is catch these things early, and I'm here to share everything I learn and I do with my orchids with you. Good or bad, we see it all. And another day you get to see the other orchids. So that was it for today. I hope you're fine. We have been having cement poured because Jack and I are building a gazebo in what used to be the vegetable garden, in what will be a serenity garden. And I usually don't plant outside till the May long weekend. I do have strawberries in the new ray bed and they're doing good. Local plants I got, so things are going good. It was 70 degrees and warm here yesterday, and we have been busy. So take care, share the love, peace be with you all. Bye for now.